Right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Free Friday Night Painting. My name is mcfalk at Falk This Nonsense, and this evening is our monthly free painting event with US Vets, a non-profit veteran service organization out in.
There we go.
Gotcha. So, Facebook tried to block my live video for a second because of my background music, but whatever. So anyway, we're here painting with US Vets, a nonprofit veteran service organization that helps veterans in need, and they are on this camera over here. And at the same time, we'll be painting along with our TikTok followers, our Instagram followers, and our Facebook followers here. And hopefully Facebook doesn't give us any trouble about the music that we're going to be playing in the background. If any time the music is too loud or not loud enough, all you need to do is let me know, and I'll make that adjustment. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is mcfalk, and I am a retired Navy Chief Petty Officer and a Iraq War veteran who now makes his living as an artist. This is what I do. I am the founder and creative director of Rock or Something Animation and the Rock or Something Foundation, a non-profit foundation that helps veterans break into the art and animation industries. So if any of you out there in our painting world tonight have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to me. Now, throughout the evening, we're going to be going through this painting, this beautiful, this really, really adorable hatchling sea turtle here. And if at any time anybody has any questions or needs anything or needs me to back up and do a step over, all you need to do is drop it in the comments, and I'll be happy to back up and help you out. All right? My comments section is there. I will go ahead and check on it periodically in between steps. So if you need anything, just let me know. So let's go ahead and get started here, guys, shall we? I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the supplies that we use. First off, I've got two brushes. That's all I've got here. I'm just going to use two brushes. I've got a rectangle brush and what I call a round brush. It's a large rectangle, small round. Now I want to show you that I've got a number of different sizes of these brushes. I've got different round brushes, different rectangle brushes. Okay? It's not necessarily important what size that you use, all right? It's just that you've got these two brushes. You really don't need anything more than a rectangle brush and a round brush. So if you've got a different size brush, it's not that big a deal. All right, so two brushes, and we've got 2 buckets of water. I like to have 2 buckets of water, particularly if I'm going to be working with any dark colors like this dark brown and this black. I'll wash out my dark colors in one and all the rest of my color in the other so that I don't contaminate the brush too much with some of the darker colors in the paint. So if you don't have 2 buckets of water, that's fine. 1 bucket does just fine. You may have to dump it and refill it from time to time. Not a big deal. We also have our paints this evening. We are working with acrylic paint. And you can see I've got blue, yellow, red, black, and white. Okay, just the primary colors and then black and white. That's all we really need to go through everything that we want to do today. Now we've got some browns in there. Obviously I've got a little bit of green that's splattered on the background there. If you've got those colors, by all means, please use them. If not, I will show you how to mix them. Not that big a deal. Okay? So we will have, I don't have an ad break, go away. That's weird. Okay, sorry, Facebook's giving me a little bit of trouble because there was some, I was playing music in the background. I apologize for that little break there. But anyway, there we go. So I've got my paints there, and now the last but not least, I've got my easel. All right, got my artist easel here. It's got all my little paints on it: my blue, my yellow, my red, my black and white. Okay, this is not really the one I'm using. I'm just goofing around with that. That's something I printed on my 3D printer. This is actually my easel right here that I use when I'm painting. You don't even need anything this fancy, you don't even need a professional easel or palette rather. All you really need is a paper plate or a styrofoam plate to put your colors on. You'll be good to go. All right. So what I want to do is we're going to start by looking at our composition here. We've got this hatchling sea turtle, and it's really just some basic shapes, guys. We've got this oval for the egg. We've got another sort of oval for the body. We've got an oval-shaped head, oval-shaped eyeball. We've got this long sort of hook-shaped fin here. Those basic shapes are going to comprise most of our composition, and then it's just going to be adding in the little details towards the end to kind of bring it around. So what we're going to do first is bring in this background, this beautiful beach sand background. And I'm going to show you guys after that one of my favorite brush strokes, which is sort of a splatter. It's going to give us that splatter effect that we've got there that shows different multicolored grains of sand. So what I want to do is go ahead and start with my brown. Now for those of you that have brown, if you've got brown, you can go ahead and take some of your brown, mix it in with a little bit of white to make a nice soft sandy brown. But if you don't have your brown, let's go ahead and mix some of that up. And in order to mix that up, I'm definitely going to put on my apron here. I don't want to, I've got a brand new iron sweater that I just ordered from Ireland. I love this thing. I don't want to get paint all over it. But I'm wearing it while I'm painting because, let's face it, I look good in it, right? Huh? Okay, anyway. Let's go ahead and take our palette here, guys, and let's bring our 3 primary colors onto the palette. I'm going to put a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow, and a little bit of blue right next to one another on my palette here. And I'm going to use these 3 colors to mix up my brown. Okay? Now whenever I'm mixing up brown, I always like to try to start with my lighter colors. Alright, in this instance, my red and my yellow. So I'm going to pull a bunch of yellow off to the side here. Pull a bunch of yellow off to the side. And I'm going to add a little bit of red into that to make a nice soft orange. Okay? Those are 2 of the 3 primary colors that we need to make brown. Once I've got a nice soft orange in there, I'm going to take blue a little at a time, just a little bit. All right, little touch of blue, just like that. I'm going to add that little touch of blue into my orange to start to bring around a nice brown. Now, when you're mixing this brown, there's a really, really easy sort of way to look at your brown and see what you need to add to bring it around to the brown that you're looking for here. If you have a really, really orange brown, like I've got here, like a rust colored brown, you've got more red and yellow than blue, so you can add a little bit more blue. All right, and it'll start to darken it up. If you've got a greenish brown, you've got too much blue and yellow mixed together, throw in a little bit of red to sort of bring it around. Okay? If you've got a purple brown, that's too much red and blue, you'll want to throw some yellow in there to bring it around. But once I've got sort of a nice soft medium brown in there, now I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of white into that to really kind of give me a pastel brown that I'm going to use for my beach sand. So I'll pull a little bit of white into here and make a soft, light brown, just like that. Okay? Now once I've got that soft, light brown, it is very easy to just start sweeping across the canvas. You'll notice I'm sweeping on a diagonal here, back and forth, just like this. All right, just get a nice, soft sweeping motion going across your canvas there. Very gently, just like this here, back and forth. Audrey, did you have a question there?
We already had brown, so I'm trying to see how I can make it look more sand.
All you got to do is add a little bit of white to it to lighten it up, and maybe add a touch of yellow to give it that sandy feel. Okay? You're welcome. So for those of you that are out there just mixing the brown with your primary colors, again it is red and yellow first, mix up a nice soft orange, and then introduce a little bit of blue nice and slow till you get a nice soft brown that you're looking for. Then start throwing some white in there to lighten it up a little bit, make it look like your beach sand that we're looking for here. All right, that's what we're going for. It's a nice soft sandy color across it. I'm just going to start sweeping that in, back and forth. All the way across the canvas from top to bottom, from one corner to the next. Uh-oh, looks like our cats are going to fight here. If you see me run away for just a minute, like at a camera, it's probably me breaking up the cats, so I apologize ahead of time. They like to goof around with each other as they go through the night.
She's on something.
Yep. So there we go, just sweeping some nice, beautiful sand across the canvas on this diagonal from one side to the other. Go ahead and take your time, guys. Take a few minutes. All right. Move that across from side to side. Take your time. I'm not in any kind of hurry. If you've painted with me before, you know that I'm here to help you enjoy this painting and to walk you through it step by step. So I'm not going to rush you along the way. If anybody has any questions or if you feel like I'm moving too fast, all you need to do is back it up a little bit. Drop a note in the comments there and let me know, and I'll be happy to back up and show you your step again. Now I'm going to take a breather here for just a second and check my comments, see if anybody's got any questions. But you guys go ahead and keep working on your sandy background there. I've got some visitors over here on Instagram. Thank you for being here tonight, guys. Thank you so much. Bruh6500 over on Instagram. Cool. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much. How are we doing over here on Facebook? Any questions? Any comments over here? Nothing going on over here. Instagram. Janie's back here on it's not Instagram, on TikTok. Janie, thank you for coming back. Welcome. Thanks for being here. How are we doing over here at US Vets? Now, for those of you that have just kind of like logged on, this Friday, tonight, is our one Friday of the month where we paint with US Vets, a nonprofit service organization that helps veterans in need. So my friends over here at US Vets are on this camera in front of me here. TikTok's over here on this camera. Instagram's down here on this one. And Facebook is over here on the left. So if you see me looking around at the different cameras, you know that I'm just kind of chatting with different groups. And I'm thankful that you're all here tonight and having a good time. Hi, Jane. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and keep on with my sand color here, back and forth. Just start bringing that sand in across there. I want to go ahead and cover my entire canvas with this beautiful sandy brown. And it's okay. You'll notice as we're going around, I've got some variation in the colors there. Remember that there is no pure color in nature. All right? Colors float in and out amongst one another. And there's never like a solid color that nature creates. So we can let these colors, these light yellows and light browns and really darker browns kind of float amongst one another in this sandy background. All right? I encourage you to let that kind of float around a little bit. Have fun with it. I am now mixing up a little bit more of my light brown because I ran out. And I encourage you guys to not be afraid to mix up a little bit more light brown if you need to. Do not try to color match. I want you to notice as soon as I put this light brown on here, this light brown is sort of a different light brown than the one I've got right above it. And that's okay. Again, it goes back to there are no pure solid colors in nature. All right? These colors can float in and amongst one another, back and forth. Okay? Let them play with one another as they move across the canvas. And yes, I understand that from time to time I get a little, I channel a little bit of Bob Ross. I get that, I really do. I learned how to paint from Bob Ross back in the day, back on PBS. But I also share some other commonality with Bob Ross. For those of you that didn't know, Bob Ross is also retired, or he was retired senior enlisted with the United States Air Force, and I am a retired Navy Chief Petty Officer with the Navy Seabees. So let's go ahead and so yeah. Anyway, if you hear me like starting to Rossify the painting experience here, that's where that comes from. All right. So my girlfriend just tossed me a package here to remind me. All right, I'm making a mess as I'm painting back and forth, sweeping all over the place.
And the flicker painter.
And we've got flicker painting up here that we're going to be doing in a minute. So you know, I've got some security measures in place here. You know, I usually put some newspaper and stuff down. But if you happen to get anything on your walls or anything on your floors, these things right here, all right, the name brand is Magic Eraser, but you don't need to spend the name brand money. I got this whole pack of melamine erasers on Amazon for like, I don't know, $6. And these things are great for taking all that stuff off the walls, off the floors, anything. Marker, paint, pencil, anything. So get yourself some melamine sponges. If you're having a little bit too much fun, you can just wipe it off of anything. Now, let's talk about the acrylic paint for a minute. While you guys are working on your background, acrylic paint is great. We can have a lot of fun with it. We can do a lot with it. We can mix a lot with it. It dries kind of like sort of quickly, you know, depending on the humidity of the room around you. You can water it down a little bit, put a little bit of water on there to kind of loosen it up and keep it wet. But once it dries, it's dry. All right. So please try not to get it on your clothes, which is why I'm wearing my apron here. I've got this nice sweater on that I'm really happy with. You know, I don't want to screw it up, so I put my apron on tonight. try not to get under your clothes. If you do get under your clothes, try to get to it as quickly as possible with some water. Dab, dab, dab with as much water as you can to kind of dilute it and get it out of there. Once it dries, it's dry. Now, it will come off of your hands very easily with some soap and water. It just does. Once it dries, you can just rub it right off with some soap and water. As I mentioned, it'll come off your walls and your floors with a melamine sponge, no problem. It'll come out of your hair very easily with a pair of scissors. Not that big a deal, but it will not come off of your clothes. So be very careful. Try not to get it on your clothes tonight, okay? Any questions so far, everyone? Oh, my friend. Oh, outstanding. I've got some friends over here on Instagram, the Art Apothecary Shop. Hi, how are you? One of my old friends from DC Comics is visiting us over on Instagram tonight. It is wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Jesse, I don't even know if I can pronounce that name. Jesse Pimp Named Mango. Jesse the Pimp Named Mango. Jesse, thanks for being here, man. I have no idea what that means, but thanks for visiting over here on TikTok tonight.
Mangoes are awesome.
So I'm gonna go ahead and look at US Vets, which is the nonprofit that we're painting with tonight. How you guys doing over here? You doing good to go? Audrey, it looks like that guy needs some paint. He's pointing at his paint. Give me paint, give me paint. I saw that. I couldn't hear that.
What kind of beer comes in an orange can?
What kind of what comes in an orange can?
Beer on your shirt.
Oh, I have no idea. This was a gift from my girlfriend's sister because I like to cook. It's one of my favorite hobbies. And she had no idea what else to get me for Christmas, so she got me an apron with a bunch of beer cans on it. I have no idea. There's no real beer cans on here. It's just kind of like a bunch of silly sort of nonsense on my apron. And I decided to use it for my painting because it's got really neat pockets in the front. All right, Squilber over here on TikTok. Thanks for being here tonight. And I'm glad you're happy to be here. I hope you're painting with us tonight. Thanks so much for being here. All right, guys. How's everybody doing on this step so far? Does anybody have any questions about some of the sand that we put in place here? I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to work through this step. I don't want anybody to feel rushed. The next step is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a little messy, but it's going to be a lot of fun. But I'm going to go ahead and let you guys get caught up here for a minute. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, well, let's just chat for a little bit. Do you guys see the news today? Did you guys see about that explosion at the French cheese factory? Did you see that? I read it on The Guardian earlier. Yeah, apparently there was a huge explosion at a French cheese factory today. There was nothing left but debris. I want to show myself out now.
Yeah, I'm from Wisconsin, so beer and cheese, they come from anywhere else. They're not the real thing.
Oh, whatever. But Wisconsin, most of your cheese is in your heads anyway.
Just like Cloud Bear is Dairyland.
All right, now, what I want you guys to do is once you're done with your beautiful sand background here, I want you to go ahead and wash out your brushes, get them nice and clean. This next step, this is where we're going to get a little bit of messy and a little bit fun. We're going to do sort of a splattering effect. And what I'm trying to create here, let me get this up close so you guys can see this. I'm trying to create like individual grains of sand where the sunlight is sort of glinting off of some of the sand in the, in the area around the turtle. That's going to be our next step. And we're going to touch on some reds and some blue and some yellow. And what we're going to do is we're going to loosen it up with a little bit of water, and then we're going to sort of flick it. Let me demonstrate the brush stroke for you guys while you're finishing this up. I've got my brush here. I'm going to hold it like a tomahawk. That is straight ahead, just like this. And then I'm very gently going to flick the top of it. Flick, 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 flick. Just like that. And when I get paint on my brush and I start flicking it at the canvas, it's going to splatter, sort of like a Pollock, only prettier. So we're going to start splattering some color on here to represent some of the individual grains of sand and how they're capturing the light. So Oh goodness. Sorry, I'm looking at some of my comments, and I just have to catch them from time to time. Some of my jokes are really dumb. You guys know that I'm just a goofball and an idiot, right? So enjoy some of my jokes while you can. All right. So as I'm looking at my canvas here, I've got this beautiful sandy canvas, sandy beach here. I want to start flicking in some of these colors. Now I've got my palette here with some color on it. Since I've got some pure blue sitting here already, I'm going to start with my blue. Now I've got my clean bucket of water here. I haven't washed any brushes out in this bucket of water yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dip my brush into that water and just tap some of that pure water onto the palette right next to my blue. And I'm going to sort of mix that blue in with the water to make a really soupy, almost viscous blue. It's very, very loose and relaxed. It's not thick. Okay? Once I've got that loose, relaxed blue on there, now I'm going to take that tomahawk that I talked about earlier, and I'm just going to very gently start flicking it at my canvas. Flick, flick, flick. I'm just sort of flicking the tips of the bristles. Just the tip. Just the tip. All right? Just like that. And I get this nice little splatter in here. Okay? Just a very gentle flicking, and I get a beautiful splatter. I'm going to go ahead and wash out that brush, pull a little bit more water into my red this time. Let me make some nice, loose, watery red. And let me flick a little bit of red in there. Flick, 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 flick. Now you'll notice I'm sort of staying out of the middle of my canvas here. All right, and the reason I'm doing that is because my turtle's going to go in there in a few minutes, and I don't want to have to wait too long for some of the wet flicks of paint here to dry. All right, because they're mostly water mixed in with a little bit of paint. These are going to take a few minutes to dry, and I want to be able to work here in the center in just a few moments. So I'm going to try to avoid that area and work around the perimeter here. So once I've done with some red, I'll go ahead and wash my brush out a little bit. Maybe I'll pull some yellow with some water. All right, I'm going to loosen up some yellow with some water here, just like this. Get it on the tip of my brush. And maybe now I'll flick some yellow in. Flick, 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 flick. Now you've got this, you guys can't see this on my canvas because the cameras are okay, they're just not perfect. But I've got a sandy yellow background here. I am actually flicking yellow paint onto the canvas, but it's difficult to see because of the contrast. So I'll bring this up closer here in just a second so you guys can see it, okay? Let's see what we got here. Let's bring that in here. So you guys can see I've done some yellows, some reds, and some blues. All right, just flicking onto the canvas there to give myself the illusion that the sunlight is sort of glinting off of thousands of little grains of sand. Audrey, did you have a question over there? You mix too much paint. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. How we doing out here on, let's see, how we doing over here on Instagram? Everybody okay over on Instagram? Facebook, how we doing here on Facebook? Alrighty. Everybody up here on TikTok, we good to go? Janie, you still doing good? I'm gonna take a breather here for just a second and shoot out a message to. I'm gonna answer a question for one of our guests here, if I can. How do I do this here? How do you do a message here? Comment. There we go. Not many. I know you guys don't want to sit here and stare at my my ridiculous face here. Sorry about that. All right, everybody, how are we doing so far? Is everybody having a good time? Outstanding. I got a thumbs up over there. I got a thumbs up over here. Wonderful. Oh, just taking notes. That's perfectly okay. So over here on Instagram, I've got some friends taking notes. And so, guys, I've got, like I said, I got one of my friends from DC Comics when I used to work at DC. She now owns an apothecary shop, an online apothecary shop. And you can go ahead over to Instagram and follow her and see what she's got going on. It is at The Apothecary Shop. Some of her stuff is really amazing. And you should definitely take a look at what she's got going on. But I just want to let you know that I'm here every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time here on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. And then once a month we add U.S. vets into the mix and we get to paint with you guys as well. So I'm here every Friday night. So if you're just taking notes tonight, you want to come back again and paint with me next Friday night, I'd love to have you. So please come and join me, okay? All right, guys. So I want one more little bit of splatter on my canvas here. I do want to add a little bit of white. I like to add a little bit of white in there just for the sort of the contrast of bringing some of the tones around here. I'm going to take a little bit of white onto my palette and I'm going to throw some water into that there. Loosen up some white paint there. All right, and then I'm just going to go ahead and add some white flickers to my canvas to finish up some of those highlights in the sand. Now, once we're done with that step, once you get all of your splatter paint done here, and you feel comfortable with what you've accomplished, I want you to go ahead and wash out that large rectangle brush and get it nice and clean, because we are getting ready to start outlining the egg and the turtle. All right? That's it, guys. The background is done. Now we come in here and we start outlining the beautiful shape of the egg and the basic outline of the turtle bursting forth from the egg. So there we go. We're almost there. All right? Take a few minutes, get caught up. I'm going to check the feeds here and see if we've got any questions or comments. And then we'll get ready to move on to the next step. How's that sound? Alrighty. You're welcome. Let's see how we doing over here on Facebook. So I usually play music during my events here, and I'm sorry that I don't have the music on right now, but for some reason I'm using a different camera for Facebook tonight. The Facebook camera doesn't usually pick up my background music, but tonight it's picking up my background music and it's cutting my feed whenever it hears the background music because it's like some sort of copyright infringement, even though I'm listening to music in my own home. It's really weird, but whatever. So I don't have any music on in the background tonight. I apologize for that. I usually do. So hopefully you guys are enjoying just listening to me babble endlessly as we move along here.
I'm enjoying looking at your house.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. What are we looking at in the background? I've got my we've got an old hook block up on the shelf here. Okay. Sitting right there. We've got our binoculars for when we want to go goof around and look at some birds. We got that. What you're seeing here, this is really strange. I've actually got one of my paintings, our sample painting, resting on these, but we've actually got a set of shipwright clamps sitting on this. This is our bar shelf behind us here. So we've got some shipwright clamps just kind of like sitting up on the bar shelf. My girlfriend picked those up. Somebody was throwing them away. They had no idea what they were throwing away. They just tossed them out at the trash one day, and she was driving by and found them and said, "Those are really cool." Brought them back to her studio and refinished them, sanded them down, restained them, got them looking. I mean, they looked like crap when she first brought them home, but now all of the wooden screws work beautifully, and these things are in great shape. So we use them sort of ornamental here in the background. So that's what you're looking at there. So I appreciate that you're enjoying our house. Thank you very much for that. That's very kind.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. So I'm going to give you another minute to get caught up here to the splatters. And just in about a minute, I'm going to go ahead and get started on some of the basic shapes that make up our eggshell and our turtle so that we can just start rolling forward and getting that turtle knocked out. All right, how does that sound? Once you guys are done with your splatter, get your brushes washed out, get them nice and clean, and make sure you've got some white paint on your palette ready to rock and roll, because we're going to outline in some white and then start building, we'll start building on top of that with some of our additional colors that go in afterwards. So do you guys know how Darth Vader knew what Luke bought him for Christmas? Anybody? Anybody? He sensed his presence.
Yeah, people not as old as me wouldn't know what you're talking about.
You'd be surprised. There's a lot of younger Star Wars fans out there now that would know exactly what I just said. But I get it. I totally do. Sometimes I feel like that.
Anyway, what is that out that back window? Is that a highway back there, or is that water?
Say that again?
The back straight through, is that
Oh, that's actually my TV. That's my TV is up on the wall, and that's usually where I play my music from. But since I had to cut the music off because of Facebook, you're just staring at like the glow from the TV in the background there.
yeah, no, really, I'm staring at a beach.
Nothing wrong with that. You can pretend it's a beach. That's okay. I do that from time to time. All right, guys. Let's get ready to kick off the next step. How you guys doing at US Vets? You good to go? You ready to go? All right, outstanding. Instagram, TikTok, you guys ready? Facebook, how you guys doing over here? Let's do it. All right, I'm going to take my clean, large rectangle brush, this guy right here, and I am now going to dip into just some regular white, not the white with the water in it. I want some nice, thick white paint on my palette here. And what I am going to do is I'm going to sort of shape out my egg. Now, here's what I want you guys to understand about this egg. It's not a circle. It's not even really an oval, even though the eggs are sort of oval shaped. One thing you've got to remember about reptile eggs is that they're leathery. So they sort of have some unusual shape. They don't have that perfectly ovoid shape that a chicken or a duck or an aviary egg would have. They can be very loose and relaxed as we go around. So I'm just going to start here at the top, and watch what I do here, guys. I'm just going to sort of pull a rough oval shape all the way around, down towards the bottom. Bring it all the way around. And sort of make a 3/4 oval, just like that. All right? Notice I didn't finish it. I didn't make it a complete oval. All right? I've got sort of a 3/4 oval shape there. And if you dip into some of your splatter paint that is still a little wet, that's okay, not that big a deal. I'm going to go ahead and do this again. I'm going to swing this all the way around. Just like that. And once I've got this in place, I can now just very gently fill this in. All right, I'm just going to fill it in with some X-shaped brush strokes. We're going to be going over this in a few minutes with our basic shapes for our turtle. But what I want to do is sort of cover up some of that sandy color in the background so that I can see where I'm working here. So I'll just start to fill in that rough oval of the sea turtle's egg, just like this. And I'll bring this up closer so you guys can see this here in just a moment, okay? So it sort of looks like somebody blew the side off of a moon. You know, let's talk Star Wars for a minute. It's like, and it just blew the side off the moon. It's sort of a 3/4 of an eggshell there, okay? That's what we're looking for. How did that step go? Did I move a little bit too quickly for anybody? Did everybody catch that okay?
Enough time to cover up the wave I had going across my feet.
No, you take your time. We're not in any hurry. Go ahead and take all the time you need to cover it up. We're not moving on to the next step just yet. All right, just take a few minutes to cover some of that up, okay? Just like that.
Where's she? You're not outside. Come on. Come on. You're not outside right now. It's too late. Come on. Come on.
All right, outstanding. How's everybody doing so far?
Great.
Janie, how you doing up here on TikTok? You good to go? You guys over at US Vets, you okay?
Yep.
Outstanding. Michaela, how you doing? You still with us? I don't know if I lost everybody on Facebook. It doesn't tell me who's here on Facebook anymore. It's disappointing. I'm afraid that I lost people on Facebook because of the music earlier. That was crazy. Huh, interesting. Anyway, I'm glad you guys are here. I really am. Those of you that have joined me tonight over here on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and over at US Vets, I want to thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate it. As I said earlier, I'm here every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, just doing a different original painting every week. So if you've done sort of the paint and sip thing before, the paint night thing before, I'm working with all original painting stuff that I've come up with myself. Just so you understand, I did do paint night for about 5 or 6 years out in LA. I did that live, and I had a really good time with it. I was one of the highest rated paint night artists in the area, and I do get a lot of return guests come back. I did at the time, and I even get some of my old paint night friends come back and paint with me here on TikTok and on Instagram. I see them from time to time, and I'm really grateful for that. So thank you all for being here. But every Friday night at 9 p.m. I'll be here painting something different, something new. So if you're not jazzed by tonight's painting, I think next week I'm going to do I've got a really neat sort of ballerina. I've had a request for a ballerina, and I'm going to do sort of a neat little, I don't know if I can even do this, but I'm going to do sort of a ballerina pose, a little dancer pose. And if any of you guys out there in social media land have a request, I know that I've got a request to do a Disney-inspired painting one week. That's coming 2 weeks from now. But if any of you have a request, something that you'd really, really like to paint, something you'd really like to enjoy with me, pop it in the comments or shoot me a message and let me know. I would love to do something special for any one of you that wants to paint with me. So thank you so much. Please feel free to invite your friends to these events every Friday night. These are free. They don't cost you anything. All right, I'm just here having fun, enjoying myself. I miss the interaction of being with paint night and seeing people on a regular basis and teaching them how to paint and seeing the looks on their faces when they, when they see what they can accomplish with their paintings. So I really love being able to do this with you guys. So the more people you bring, the merrier. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. If, of course, you're having a really good time and you want to throw me a glass of scotch or a cup of coffee or something, you're more than welcome to hit me up on Venmo or over on Cash App. It's Venmo at Chief Falk or Cash App Falk This Nonsense. Throw me $1 to get some coffee or a glass of whiskey or something. It's not necessary. Not a big deal. I'm happy to have everybody out here painting with me and enjoying themselves. Okay? So thank you all for coming. I really do appreciate it. All right, guys. I think keep the Star Wars jokes coming. Okay, Michaela, I will absolutely do that. All right. Hey, where'd our guy go where'd that other guy go? Audra, where'd he disappear to?
He went to the bathroom. He'll be back.
We ain't got time for that. I'm getting ready to move on to the next step. All right. So what I want to do next is I want to start to outline my turtle a little bit, but I want to keep the turtle in a slightly different sort of color. So I'm going to start to mix up a little bit of a darker brown so I can kind of shape in my turtle's basic shape here on top of the eggshell that I've got. So if you remember earlier, we mixed up red, blue, and yellow to make some brown, and we mixed up the red and the yellow first to give ourselves a nice soft orange. Well, this time I want to pull some yellow over here. I'm going to put a little bit more red in it, and I'm going to make a darker orange. All right, I've got a darker orange this time. And into that darker orange, I'm going to put a good amount of blue, and I'm going to start to darken up that orange that deep orange, and now it turns into brown, just a little bit at a time here. All right, but if you start with a darker orange and add your blue to it, you end up with a darker brown. Okay? Now, this is not the brown that we're going to end with, but it's still a darker brown than we started with. And what I'm going to do with that brown is start to shape out my turtle. Okay? So I've got this deeper brown now. All right? And Audra, when your guest comes back there, I'll back this up and I'll show him this step again. Okay? Not a problem at all. But what I want to do is I want to get these basic shapes of my turtle again. Now my turtle is sort of oval shaped, and he's cracking out of this shell. So what I'll do is I'll come in here to my shell, and I'll just very gently, the first thing I want to do is sort of get a little oval going right in the middle there. All right, I want to outline where the shell is starting to crack a little bit. Okay? And once I've got that laid in, I can now come out here and start to build his body. The bulk of his body is really just sort of a long frowny face or a long happy face, depending on how you look at your canvas. It can be a, whoop, hold on. Let's just call it a long frowny face there. That's that part right up there. All right? We just went in and we put a long sideways frowny face to make the front of his body, just like that. Okay? Go ahead and get to that step there, and then we will move on and I'll show you how to put his head in place. Does anybody have any questions so far? Wonderful. So there was another interesting news story today that I picked up on. Hopefully you guys heard of this one, and I'm not like a complete and total knucklehead. But apparently there was a circus midget fortune teller that was conning people, taking their money and giving them bogus fortunes or something. I don't know. I don't believe in any of that anyway. But you know, so she was finally arrested and brought to jail, but she escaped today. All right. So this midget fortune teller escaped from jail today, and now the news is just a buzz with a small, medium, at large. Tough room. Audra, how you guys doing over there? Jane, how are you doing up there? Outstanding. I'm glad you like that one, Jane. Thank you so much. Michaela, you doing okay there? Outstanding. I'm glad you like that joke. That was a fun one. I like that one a lot too. All right, guys. Here's what I want to do. And again, I know we've got one guest at the head there. We'll get him caught up as soon as he gets back. But I want to go ahead and start putting the sea turtle's head in place here. And this is really just a sort of a modified oval. We're going to add some detail to this in a minute. But we're just going to come off of his body here, and we're just going to put in a nice, small, sort of oval shape. Coming right off the front, just like that. Okay? You can start to see his body come into shape once you put that oval shaped head in place there. Okay? And we can go ahead and fill those areas in with that brown. Just go ahead and fill that in. Alright? That'll give us an idea of where we want to start working with some of our detail in a few minutes. If your wet paint is still a little wet here on the shell, not that big a deal, you can blend a little bit of brown in with it. It's not going to hurt it. We're going to add some darker color to it here in a few minutes anyway. Alright? There we go. Nice soft brown in there now. I do need to darken that brown up here in just a few minutes. I did get a little bit too much white blended in with that, but I can fix that as we move along. We'll get some darker browns in there in just a moment. What we need to do is give this a chance to dry a little bit. So we're going to take a breather here for just a second. We're going to kind of like step back and kind of inhale and relax a little bit. See if there's any questions. If you guys need anything, please let me know. Drop it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer your questions. All right, anything? All right, wonderful. Looks like we're doing okay. I'm going to take a breather for just a second. I'm going to step away and get a glass of water just to kind of like get my voice back here a little bit. And Audra, as soon as our other guest comes back, I'll be happy to demonstrate these steps again and get him caught up, okay? Guys, I'm gonna be back in 2 minutes. Be right back. All right, I'm back a little bit sooner than I thought. but here I am. So while we're getting caught up here and we're starting to shape in our sea turtle a little bit, I'd like to take a minute just to chat with you guys. We are painting with U.S. Vets, like I said earlier, a nonprofit veteran service organization that helps vets in need. And I love what you guys do out there, Audra. Audra and I go way back to when she was working for the well, we went to art school together, but after that she took a job with the USO working with vets over at Camp Buren. And we started doing some painting events remotely that way. I was in LA, she was in Camp Buren, and we do some painting events. And now here we are doing them again. She's in Vegas, and I'm out here in New York, and we're just enjoying and painting from time to time. But I also have my own nonprofit called the Rock or Something Foundation. And it is the aim is to aid veterans and service members move into the fields of art and animation a lot more easily than myself or Audra may have had it. I've met quite a few vets that had a difficult time sort of pursuing their dreams and their goals in the entertainment industry, and I'd like to make that a little bit easier. So I've started a nonprofit that will help them along the way with on-the-job training, networking opportunities, certifications, and other opportunities that they might not usually have. So if you guys are interested in that, please feel free to shoot me some messages. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Our website will be up in just a day or two. I'm finishing that up now. But yeah, if you guys are interested in what we're going to start doing here, I'd love to be able to talk to you about that. So anyway, there we go. That's that. All right. So how you doing there? Do you need me to go back and re-demonstrate the turtle there, sir?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Real easy. What I did was I mixed up some brown. I went back and I mixed up some dark brown, which means I took some red and some yellow and mixed up a dark orange. And into that dark orange, I started adding some blue to make a deep, deep dark brown. Okay? And once I've got my deep dark brown, the first thing I want to do is I want it to come in here to the egg and sort of cut in an oval shape where the turtle is breaking out of the egg. There's his body right there. Okay? Now I've still got a little bit of wet white on my canvas here, so it looks... It's mixing in with the white. I need to let that dry a little bit. But there you go. Getting a little ahead of myself. But once we've got this oval shape worked out here, the oval shape of his body, then we're going to go ahead and put in a second oval shape for his head, just like this. And then fill that in with our deep brown. You can start to see how some of the basic shapes are coming together to form what is going to be our sea turtle here in just a few minutes. Now, yes, I do realize that my sea turtle down here does not yet look like my sea turtle up here. All right, they're two different paintings right now. These are the basic shapes that go into building this. By the time we're done tonight, this will look more like this one up above. Okay? Now, what I am going to do for just a quick moment is I've still got a lot of wet paint on here on my canvas, and I want this to dry out a little bit. So I'm just going to take a minute and wave my canvas around. If you've got a hairdryer, that works too. But I'm just going to wave my canvas in the air a little bit. Back and forth, back and forth. Just like this. And that'll help to dry out some of that white paint that I had on there earlier so that I can apply some deeper browns here in just a few moments. All right? Just like this. It helps if you sing a song while you're doing it. Carla Frausto, thank you for being here tonight. Thanks for coming back. Outstanding. And Michaela, no problem. You can come back whenever you're ready. If you have any questions when you get back, just let me know. We're just going to wave a little bit here in the air, and what that's going to do is allow us to start drying out some of the wetter paint that's on our canvas right now. back and forth like this, waving in the air. There we go. You guys you guys at US Vets always have such tiny canvases. My goodness. But I guess size doesn't really matter, does it?
How many do-overs do we get?
Say again?
How many do-overs do we get?
None. If you want a do-over, you got to be here next month for the next painting.
My turtle looks like a whale.
Hey, you leave my mother out of this.
I love it. Yeah. Your wife's gonna tell.
All right, so what I want to do next is I want to start shaping in the fin that comes down here. And once I've got this fin in place, I can start to darken up some of the rest of the sea turtle here. Start to bring in some nice, darker, beautiful brown colors here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some of this brown that I've mixed up. Some of my deep dark brown that I've got here. And I'm going to come right underneath his headline here, right underneath this line here. And I'm just going to bring in sort of what looks like a long claw that comes out and kind of cuts around to the left. All right, and then we'll bring it out the same way here. So that I've got what looks like sort of a long claw that pokes out from the side of his body, just like that. And once you've created that shape, all you need to do is go ahead and fill that in.
My turtle has like the longest arm in the world.
Well, everybody gets perfect sex, no matter what.
I guess that's true. That's just what my dad used to born with. He was born with a long limbs.
Now, as you finish up this fin here, as it's poking out of the egg there, you're going to want to start to mix up sort of this darker brown. So the brown that you've got, the brown that we mixed earlier, this sort of reddish brown, if you start adding more blue to that, it'll start to darken it up. Add a little bit of blue, add a little bit of red, and as you add more blue and red, you start to get this deep, darker brown. All right? And with that deep, darker brown, I want to go ahead in here and start filling in these other ovals that I used for the turtle's head and body. Just start filling in some of those darker colors there.
There it is. That's the color.
How's everybody doing so far? We doing okay?
Yeah.
US Vets, how you guys doing over there?
Great.
Outstanding. Facebook, we doing okay? Outstanding. Pokey Soul over here on Instagram. Thanks for being here. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming back. And TikTok, how we doing over here? Janie, good to still see you here. I'm glad you're painting with us tonight. Wonderful. So one of the things that I'm really enjoying here, guys, is I'm building a bit of a camaraderie here, a little bit of a following and a group of friends across my social media platforms. You know, some people that have painted with me before live when I was out west, but then others that have never painted with me before except here on social media. And I love seeing everybody come back week after week, whether you're just here to like check in and see how we're doing with this week's painting, or you're actually painting with us, you're just taking notes, anything like that really means a lot to me that you're continuing to do this. So please keep coming back. I love having you. Pokey Soul and Janie and Carla, thank you. Carla, I was happy to see you here tonight. Michaela, thank you. It's the first time I've seen you here, but thank you for being here. All right. Some of you guys, it's just very meaningful that you're here spending this time with me, so thank you for that. I do appreciate it. Please keep coming back. Bring your friends. Let's the more the merrier. Let's have some fun, shall we? All right, how are we doing so far, everybody? You ready to move on to the next step? All right. Now, what I need to do, I've got a lot of wet paint in here, okay? And I don't want to sit here all night and have you guys just watch me flap my paint back and forth and back and forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch brushes up a little bit. And we're going to start adding in some detail. All right, we can come back in later and add some color as some of this dries. Some of this will dry later. We can add some of this lighter color in here. But now we're going to come in here and start adding some of this detail with my black brush. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it up. And I'm now going to shift to my small round brush. Get a little bit of water on it. Nom, 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 nom. Like that. And I'm going to put a little bit of black on my palette where I can play with it. Just a little bit right there. Don't need too much. Happy little black paint. Like that. Now I'm going to bring the canvas in close so you guys can see what I'm working on a little bit closer than you normally would. Because what we are doing now is we're going to start adding in some of the scales on the turtle's back, some of the scales on the turtle's head, the shape of its mouth, the nostril, the eye, some of these shapes down here. All right, we want to start sort of detailing the character of our turtle here. And one of the first things that we can do to do that is to come in here and right off the front here, all right, I'm going to come straight down. Yes. Say again? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm too close. I apologize. There we go. Sorry about that. So I'm going to come right off the front here. I'm going to come straight down. And then I'm going to create a little beak. Just like that. And bring the beak down and around to the shape of a mouth. Just like that. All right, and what I will do, I'm going to check my camera location here for you guys, Audra. Make sure that I've got the camera back where it needs to be. There we go. A little bit better for you guys. Now once I've got this beak in place here, I can go ahead and take a little bit more of my black paint and just sort of like fill this in a little bit. Sort of bring this in. If it mixes in with some of the brown that's still wet, that's fine. All right, you want some of these colors to blend together. Soften them up a little bit. You don't want any hard lines in your color there. Bring the mouth shape back a little bit here. To create the beak of our little turtle there, just like that. Okay? Did everybody see that okay? Soul, that's perfectly okay. Please don't apologize for being late. I'm glad you're here, and I'm happy that you're watching. Please enjoy yourself. Janie, good to see you still here up there. Carla, thank you. All right, now this next step is really easy, guys. I'm going to take these one step at a time, okay, so that we can just be very gentle and very easy with some of the details. I'm going to come up in here and I'm going to put in the sea turtle's eyeball. I'm going to come about an inch above. See where the mouth sort of curves into a little bit of a smile here, right there? I'm going to come about an inch above that, and I'm just going to put in a little dab of an oval shape. Let me fix that a little bit here. It looks sort of like a grain of rice. Okay, now what I want you to understand about this is our painting, we're giving our painting a three-dimensional feel, all right? The turtle's head is sort of on a three-dimensional plane sitting this way, coming towards the camera. So its other eye is going to be on this ridge right on the other side where we can't see it. That's why this eye seems like it's so far down on the head, because this is what would be the turtle's forehead up in the middle here. All right, so if you're looking at this going, wow, that looks weird, I want you guys to take a look at the sample here for a second and notice that as we're looking at the sample, all right, we've got this little lump in here and we've got the forehead or the top of the head of the turtle, and it's just that the eye is in a, or the head is in a sort of a three-dimensional perspective view. That's what we're creating here, okay? We are forcing the viewer's perspective and tricking them into thinking that our painting is three-dimensional when it really isn't, if that makes any sense. How we doing so far? US Vets, how you guys doing over there? Doing okay? Audra, everybody all right? Hoorah, outstanding. I love hearing that. Yes. Say that again? I have heard of Team Rubicon. They do some really amazing stuff, and I do need to get connected with them. Thank you. That's a very good suggestion. I think we could really help each other a lot. Thank you for that. All right, you guys ready for our next step? Now, what I want to show you guys about this step here is we're starting to move into some of the scales of our sea turtle here. And in certain areas, the scales are important. Like when we come into the back here, we want some well-defined scales. But then we come into sort of the head area here, and we're just very, very loose, sort of semicircular shapes. They're not full, like harsh lines until we get into here into some of the back scales. And what that does is it gives us texture. All right, let me show you what I mean by that. All right, so let's come into, I'm going to bring this up closer to you guys so you guys can see it again. All right, hopefully everybody can see this. Audra, can you guys see this okay? Yeah. All right, so up in here, instead of doing these hard sort of circular shapes, I'm going to do sort of semicircular. Like this. And what I'm doing is I'm creating sort of scales on my sea turtle's head, but I'm also giving the illusion that they're not very deep. They're not really harsh or very very old. All right. They're sort of a young set of scales that have just started to develop on the sea turtle's head here. All right. So we're not filling out those circles. We're not making them really, really heavy with the black paint. We're just very gently kind of bringing in these rough circular shapes on the turtle's head here, a little bit at a time. All right. And then while I'm up here, I will go ahead and I will put a sort of a ridge around his eye. like that. Can you guys see that okay? Can everyone see that okay? All right, outstanding. So let's go ahead and get caught up to that step, and then I will show you how to start to apply that to the rest of the turtle's body. Okay? Are you guys having a good time tonight? Outstanding. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Over here on TikTok, Dat Gringo, thank you for being here. Welcome. We're halfway through our painting tonight, but as everybody else knows, I'm here every Friday night at 9 p.m. on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So come back next week and paint something different with us. I'd love to have you. Thanks for being here. Now, what I want you guys to notice as we're moving along here is we're giving this part of the body time to dry, all right? Because we've got a lot of brown paint on there. We need that to dry because towards the end, we're going to come in here and put part of the shell, all right? You see, as part of the shell is cracked and he's ripping his way out of this leathery shell, it's sort of sitting over the top here. I want that to add depth to my painting. So that's one of the last things we're going to do. After some of this is dry, we're going to come in here, we're going to add some more shell over the top. Pardon me, we're going to add some more shell over the top of his body to give us that three-dimensional feel to our painting. All right? So we need to give this time to dry. So after the head here, we're going to start working down in the flipper and over here in the neck, and then start moving out into the body itself. All right, with some of the scales that are part of his armor plating on the top of his shell there. Okay? So while we're, Carla, you're absolutely welcome, not a problem. So while we're waiting for you guys to get caught up to this next step, story time. What the heck? I'll tell an interesting little story. So I'm a diver. I do like to do some recreational diving. I am an advanced open water diver. I've been down to 126 feet, sitting on the sandy bottom, which is it's a very spiritual experience. If you've never done it, I highly recommend it. It is a hell of a lot of fun. But I've also been diving in natural springs and rivers, and I've been fossil hunting in the water, which is a blast because you can't imagine what you can find in 30 or 40 feet of water. Antler horns that are 13,000 years old from when the Gulf of Mexico used to be a swamp. But one of the most interesting finds is I was diving in a place called Ginny Springs out in Florida, which is a natural spring system on the Santa Fe River. And for one day out of the entire year, and this was a complete fluke, the entire river was clear. Usually just the springs are clear, feeding out into the tannin-filled river, but the entire river was clear. It rained a lot, and it was just beautifully clear. So I was able to dive down to about 20, 30 feet and start collecting fossilized turtle shells and tortoise shells, and I collected, I'm trying to remember the name of this thing. Anyway, there was an armadillo that was the size of a VW bug that lived during the Pleistocene era, about 12 or 13,000 years ago. And it had these octagonal shaped armor plates that made up its shell, and each one is about that big. This looks like a stop sign, but made out of stone now. But thousands of these would make up an animal about the size of a VW Beetle bug car. And I've got a number of armor plates from fossilized sea turtles and what the hell are those things called? Something Don. Somebody help me here. What the hell are those things called? Not Packy? No, I don't know. Anyway, I'll figure it out. I'll remember it later when I'm laying in bed watching Rick and Morty. Whatever. So there we go. But anyway, one of my most exhilarating experiences has been fossil hunting and picking up some old, like, centuries old, eons old fossils from sea turtles and stuff like that. So when I get to paint it like that, it brings back memories of actually handling that stuff. So how are we doing so far? Carla, PokeSoul? Yeah, I would highly recommend it, guys. If you've never been diving before, you can usually get a regular pool certification for about $100, $150. That's with all the gear rental. Do it. Find a dive shop and at least get that certification. Then the open water certification will cost you probably another $300 plus your equipment rental. I own my own equipment. I'm like, you know, I'm going to dive all the time, so I bought my own equipment. But you can get, it's a great Christmas gift, great birthday gift. You guys can get certified open water, advanced open water for less than $1,000. It is such an amazing experience. If you've, please, especially for those of you that live out west, out in California, Florida, you know, Gulf of Mexico, Florida, Atlantic Ocean is great diving. Caribbean is beautiful diving. I've done some great diving down there. But the kelp fields off of Catalina Island, some of the wildlife off of Catalina is amazing. Okay, and if you get your certifications, you get your proper certifications, you can actually participate once a year in the Santa Monica Pier cleanup, which is where hundreds of divers get together, and it's the one time of the year where you're allowed to go into the water around the Santa Monica Pier and clean up all the garbage that's accumulated. You never get it all. You know, there's decades of garbage around Santa Monica Pier, but you get to go in there and clean up as much as possible, put it all in a big pile, take a picture of it, and then get it hauled off for recycling or, you know, being landfill, whatever it happens to be. But it's great to be able to get all that gunk out of the ocean. So if you get your dive certifications and you're out west in LA, you can absolutely participate in that. That's a blast. I highly recommend it. So, yeah, please do that. And, yeah, enjoy it, guys. Absolutely. Please do. All right, so let's move on to some of our follow-up steps here. We're going to start adding some detail, a little bit at a time. And I hope I'm not going too far over. I know it's like 10:13. We're about an hour and 15 minutes into our painting session here. I usually take about 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I hope I'm not keeping anybody for too long. I am glad that you guys are here, so I'm glad you're enjoying yourselves. If I'm telling a story and I'm eating up your time, just drop a comment in the comment section. Say, hey, shut the hell up! I got stuff to do, and I'll be happy to keep on moving. All right. So we're gonna start moving into some of the detail down here in the turtle's neck and into the turtle's fins here. So what we're gonna do is, you see the turtle's neck has got some of these lines. He looks like a little old man. All right. He's got these wrinkles that come down his neck here, and then he's got some sort of small circles on the top of his neck where scales are starting to form. So let's work on those first. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to bring our painting a little bit closer so everybody can see it. All right. Can everybody see? Audra, can you guys see okay?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So right in here, right up at where the head meets the neck here, I'm just going to come in here, I'm just going to start putting in really, really tiny circles. All right, I'm just doing these little sort of counterclockwise. They look like little sort of squiggles in the top of his neck here. All right, can you guys see that all right? I'm just starting to create little tiny squiggles where his little baby scales are coming in on his neck. Just like that. Bam, bam, bam. Leading up to his head a little bit. All right, and then we can start coming down to his neck. Even though he's a brand new baby, all right, he's wheezing. He's got ages and years on him. So he's got like a triple chin. He's got these really, really like, oh, look at that. He's got a lot of wrinkles down in there. One of my fondest memories of sea turtles, I was stationed at NAS Jacksonville, and Audra knows where this is because she was in Jacksonville for a while. I was stationed at NAS Jacksonville, and I was out at Naval Station Mayport at the beach out there, at what they call the Poles. And what it is the military beach butts up to a civilian beach, and they try to keep you on one side or the other, but it never really works all that well. But anyway, I was out there, and there was a baby sea turtle. Well, I would say a juvenile. He was about a foot long, but he was feeding in the shallows. He was just chomping a jellyfish. The way I would eat cheeseburgers, just eating down some jellyfish. And we all thought it was awesome. But the lifeguards thought he was an endangered species, and he'd already had like a chunk taken out of his back fin. Something had got to him, but he was still alive, and it had healed. It was a long time ago. But they wanted to make sure that he didn't need to be tagged. So they called Fish and Wildlife, Florida Fish and Wildlife, said, hey guys, we think we've got an endangered green sea turtle out here. You should come out and tag it. And they were like, nah, it can't be an endangered. It's got to be a loggerhead. There's no way there's an endangered green sea turtle out there on the beach doing that. But whatever. So we finally ended up like letting him go eventually. But somebody took a picture and found out that yes, it was an endangered green sea turtle, and they should have come out and tagged them, and they were just lazy that day. But I actually got to hold this thing in my hands while we were waiting for Fish and Wildlife to decide if they were coming out. Because if they were going to tag them, we needed to kind of hold them for a little bit so they could get out there. And I looked into its eyes, and I'll tell you, it looks like there's an entire universe in their eyeballs. Like, you know, you look at the human eye and you're like, that's really cool. You look at a sea turtle's eye and it looks like the entirety of the universe has been compressed down into a little globe and stuck in their head. It's amazing. So if you ever get the chance to do that, I recommend that too. Don't go chasing sea turtles and like trying to catch them in your net or something. But if you get the chance to see one in an aquarium, check out their eyes. They're really cool. I'm glad you like the stories, Pokesol. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right. So here I am putting in some of the little neck wrinkles on my sea turtle there, a little at a time. And now I'm going to start moving down into some of the shapes here on his fin. Again, letting some of this area on his back dry so I can get some of those shapes in. Now what I want you guys to notice about his fin here is it almost looks as if he's got claws or teeth that run along the edge of his fin. Okay? There are sort of bony protrusions along the edge of his fin that look like claws or teeth. And that's what we're going to be creating next. All right? Am I doing okay? Am I moving too fast for anybody right now? US Vets, how you guys doing over there? Audrey, you good to go? Outstanding. Wonderful. Instagram, Pokesol, I'm glad you guys love the stories. Yeah, what else are you going to do on a Friday night during a pandemic, right? Outstanding. All right, Janie up here on TikTok. Outstanding, wonderful. All right, guys, great. So what I want to do is I want to start putting in some of these sort of tooth or nail shapes, these little claw shapes along the edge here. And they're going to be bigger in here towards the inside of his arm. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really just come in here and staying within the brown that I've already established, just come in here and start doing sort of these sort of rice shapes, these long rice-shaped little scales come in here just like this. And as I move down his flipper, they get a little bit smaller. They don't get like super small really quick. They'll start to go to like medium size here, a little bit at a time. All I'm really doing is doing these little sort of rice grain shapes or little eyeball shapes here, all the way down his fin. Starting to move them down a little bit. And you'll notice they're moving the turn of the fin there, the turn of the little scales is moving with the shape of the fin. All right. So as the fin kind of curves, you're moving the curvature, the overall curvature of those scales as they move on down the sea turtle's body like that. Can everybody see that okay? Outstanding. Oh, Michaela, you're very welcome. I'm sorry that you have to go. I'm glad you were here tonight. Thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot. I miss you guys, and I'm glad you were here. Please come back and paint with me again. I love what you're doing at the Art Apothecary Shop. For those of you that just got here, one of my good friends that I used to work with at DC Comics runs the Art Apothecary Shop over on Instagram. She does custom candles and all kinds of neat stuff. So go check her out. But she was here checking us out and painting with us tonight. So Michaela, thank you so much for being here. It was wonderful to have you. All right, everybody. What I want to do next is just take a breather for a second. I don't want anybody to feel like I'm rushing too much. All right. So let's see. Let's check on comments here for everybody. All right. Everybody looks like they're doing great. Carla, Pokesol, I'm glad you guys are enjoying yourselves. This is amazing. US Vets, I got a thumbs up from you guys a few minutes ago. You guys doing okay still? Wonderful. All right. So I'm just gonna slow down for just a second. Let you guys look at what I've done so far. All right, because what we're getting ready to do is start adding a little bit more detail to the fin, and then we're going to start bringing in some of the detail to the shell itself. Okay, guys, stick with me here. We're almost done. We're not that far from being finished with this, so I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves, and I'm not like keeping anybody from doing anything important tonight. You know, I realize it's Friday night, but it's Friday during a pandemic, so I don't know. Like you know, like PokeSoul said, what else are you gonna do Friday night in a pandemic, right? Besides sit here and goof off with me. So there you go. We doing okay, guys? Wonderful. Audra, how we doing on time there? Good?
Yeah, we're alright.
All right, perfect. All right, so before I move on to the body and start putting some detail on the body, I am going to put a little bit of detail on the fin, okay? And like I did earlier up here on the head where I did sort of these semicircles, I'm going to do the same thing here on the fin. I'm just going to do sort of like these rough, loose semicircles of scales because I want to give the impression that these are young juvenile scales. All right, they haven't fully formed yet. They're not really thick. All right, they're just kind of like moving around here a little bit. You don't have to do too many, just do a little bit here and there. It also gives the impression that certain parts of the turtle's body are out of focus. Imagine that you're looking at this turtle through the lens of a camera. Okay? Not everything is going to be in focus. So by using different brush techniques, you can actually sort of create that out of focus feel. Just like that.
Michael, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, sir.
And thank you for your service.
You too. Thank you so much for coming tonight. You have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah, you too. I'll see y'all later. See you next time.
Outstanding. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, what you doing?
All right. How's everybody else doing? We doing okay out here in the rest of our realm? Audrey, you doing okay? You going to stick with us or you got to roll? Say again?
I think we're going to leave.
Okay, no problem. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Yeah, I'm going to stay on for now, but...
All right, no problem. All right, so next thing I want to do is I want to start moving into my sea turtle's arm here. All right, I've got a little bit, just like I've got this sort of the area in his neck where the skin is kind of compressed a little bit and loose. We've got the same thing that comes around his flipper here. So we're just going to do these long frowny faces right around the top of the flipper. Like that. Where his flipper is sort of coming out of his body a little bit. Okay? And now once we've got to that step, we are ready to start adding in some of the detail around the top of his shell. Now what I want you to notice about our sea turtle shell is right in here up close to where his head comes out of his body. This first line of shell, these little scales, are very narrow. All right, they're very small, very narrow. And they just make up sort of like a fence that holds the rest of these scales in place. So that's what we're going to do first. All right, we're going to take our black paint and right up in here, go ahead and put my, there we go, get that back up in there. All right, and I'm just going to start, what I want to make sure that I do here is I need to give myself sort of a guideline. All right, so let me start up here. Sort of bring an S-shaped curve down to, I don't know, right about there. All right, that gives me just a guideline for where I can now come in and start to put in a series of rectangular shaped scales that make up that primary line of his first set of scales on his shell. Like that. All right, once I've got that first line of scales in there, now's the time to have a little bit of fun. Now we can start expanding outward a little bit. We can start making our scales a little bit bigger. And they're more sort of loose octagonal shapes as they start to come away from the smaller, more juvenile scales around his neck there. Now you'll notice as I'm doing these scales, I'm actually doing full shapes here. I'm not just doing sort of the semicircular shapes, the loose black lines, okay? I'm doing more full shapes so that it gives the impression that yes, these are older, even though he's brand spanking new, he just came out of his shell, these particular scales have been developing a little bit longer in utero, or not in utero is not the right word when you're dealing with eggs, is it? In egero, that's what we use. He's developed a little bit more in egero. And we'll just come through here and start popping in some scales as we go along. And as we get further away now, our scales can actually start to get considerably bigger. All right? Because they are more developed. They are older, even though he's a brand new sea turtle. All right? He's been developing this egg for weeks, months. All right? Some of these scales on the back of his shell are going to be bigger, more developed. So we can start to increase the size of these a little bit as we move along here. Just like that. We start to wrap his shell around. And bring him more into focus. Pokesoul, no, Pokesoul, I am not drinking water tonight. Sorry, for those of you that are watching me right now, I'm just answering a comment in one of my comment sections here. All right, you're all set, Audra. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Hey, let's chat maybe tomorrow or Monday when you get some time. All right.
Yeah, Monday will work for me.
All right, perfect. I'm sorry if it took too long for you guys tonight. I apologize, but thank you for coming out.
Yeah, of course. Have a good night, all right?
You too. Thanks.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. All right, so PokeSoul, in answer to your question, US Vets is logged off. Once a month, I do a painting session with US Vets, and like I said, they are a nonprofit veteran service organization that helps vets in crisis and in need. And my friend Audra had mentioned to me that the vets that are living in their facility, they encourage clean living. So whenever I do a painting event with them, I try not to be very overt with with the toasts and the drinking stuff. They've logged off. So for those of you that are still with me, here's to us and those like us. And if they don't like us, fuck them. Cheers. Outstanding. But that was a good question. Thank you for sharing that with me. All right, everybody. So we're almost done here. We got a few more things that I want to do. You know, we've got some of these highlights that I want to add in around the edges of our sea turtle's shell here. I want to add a little highlight in his eye. And then, of course, we're going to come in and add the last little bit of detail to his shell to finish this up. Okay? But before we do that, let's go ahead and wash out our small brush, get it nice and clean. And since the eyeball is mostly dry, I'll just go ahead and put some white paint right in the tip of my small round brush, and I'll just come right in here to the eyeball, and I'll just drop in, boop, a little highlight in his eye, just like that. Okay? So bring that in close so you guys can see that. Just drop a little highlight into the corner of his eye. All right? Now, I'm going to switch back to my large rectangle brush for just a minute, and I'm going to go very, very lightly now. Okay? One of the things that I want to do, some of this black paint is still wet, and that's okay. But what I want to do is I want to add some sort of highlights to the edges of his fin and to the edge of his shell here and up underneath his neck. So I'm going to go back to this light brown that I had earlier. I got sort of this light brown here. All right, I used it earlier in here. Okay, got a little bit of this light brown, and I'm just going to very gently just sort of come back in here to the back side of his neck and just start sweeping in a little bit of this light brown. Let it blend in with the black a little bit. All right, that black will sort of blend it in and make it feel like more of his skin. All right, it'll give you more of a natural feel instead of this bright brown contrast in there. You can mix it in with that black a little and blend it around and give the illusion that it is actually a separate part of his body, just like that. All right, let me get that in close so you guys can see that. All right, we're just blending in a little bit of this light brown that we had from earlier. Bring a little bit in underneath his jawline here, like this here. Just like this. Mix that in with some of the black there. All right. Same thing right here on the edge of his flipper. We'll just come in here and very gently just start sweeping in some of this light brown color. Let it blend with the black a little bit. If you end up covering up any of your black lines, that's okay. All right, we can come back here at the very end and we can reestablish those with our small brush, not a big deal. But we do want to have a little bit of highlights in certain areas of his body here, okay? That's going to allow us to keep that three-dimensional feel where he's not all just like this one-dimensional brown turtle. We'll do the same thing right here, right along the edge of his shell. We'll just pull back very gently on some of this color here. Very, very gently here. Maybe sweep it a little. Mix it in with the black just a touch. There we go. Very gently, just like that. Now, like I said, I ended up going over some of my black lines a little bit. But watch this. Not that big a deal. Okay? I'll come right back in here with my small round brush, and I'll just very gently reestablish some of my black lines, just like this. All right, reestablish some of those scale lines very gently here. Just touch some of those in place. And that way I can keep that lighter highlight on the scales, but still give the impression that the scales are there and they've still got some shape and some definition to them, just like that, okay? And we'll do the same thing over here. Remember, see, we lost some of the definition on our little tooth-shaped scales there on his flipper. Let's go ahead and fix that a little bit. All right, just bring some of those down all the way, okay? Go ahead and wash that brush out. Get it nice and clean. We've got one last step that I want to finish this thing up, and what we're going to do very last is just kind of bring in, if you look at our sample here, we're going to bring in where this piece of shell kind of falls down over, the eggshell falls down over his shell on his back. Just again to give us the impression that he's really just bursting out. So take a minute to get caught up here. I'm going to look at the comments and see if anybody has any questions. And if anybody needs anything, please feel free to drop it in the comments and I'll be happy to answer your question. So PokeSoul, not a problem at all. I think it's great that you want to try to recreate this. So if you and I are not friends on Facebook, please take a minute to go look me up on Facebook. My username is mcfalk. That's Mike Charlie Foxtrot Alpha Lima Kilo. And I actually save these videos to my Facebook. So you can actually go in there for, I think it's like 30 days after I do these live sessions like this. You can actually go in there and re-watch them. So if you'd like to paint this with your nieces, you can actually do it while you're watching this step by step. So maybe that'll help you guys have an even better time. So please try that and see if you guys enjoy that, okay? Wonderful. Outstanding.
About the shadow.
We're still working on that. It's one of the last things we're going to do. So I just got reminded we actually have 2 steps. I get a little ahead of myself sometimes when we're doing this. We have to bring in the shell as it comes over the top here, but we've also got a shadow underneath the eggshell here, where the eggshell is sitting on the sand, so we need to do that too. While we're waiting for some of this to dry, let's go ahead and do that. Let's take that large rectangle brush, and let's go into some of our darker brown. You should still have some of this darker brown. I've still got a little bit laying around, just a little bit of this darker brown right here. And with that darker brown, I'm just going to very gently now start over here by where his flipper is. Very gently just come in and start to bring in a very long, gentle arc. About 3/4 of the way on that egg. All right? And once you've got that in place, you can very gently just come in and start gently sweeping that side to side, just to soften that up. Start to blend that into sand a little bit. And give yourself a nice soft shadow in the sand, where the egg is just sort of sitting on top of the sand. Nice soft shadow. Just like that. Okay? Very gentle shadow. Just like that. Okay? Alright, PokeSoul, my Facebook username is mcfalk. That is Mike Charlie Foxtrot Alpha Lima Kilo. Let me put that in the chat here. Alright, so if your friend requests me over there, I'll be happy to take your friend request, and then you can watch these videos. Each video that I do every week is saved up there for like, I don't know, 30 or 90 days. I don't know what the time limit is, but you can go back and watch any one of these. So if you and your nieces want to paint this turtle, or you want to paint the cardinal that we did, or the hummingbird we did last week, by all means, please feel free to watch them. Again, this doesn't cost you guys anything. I'm just out here having fun. Watch them, have fun, enjoy yourselves. Share them with your friends. Tell your friends. Let's build a following. Let's really get a group going and have some fun with this. So please, enjoy yourselves. All right? Go watch them and paint. And just paint and have fun. Okay? All right. So last step of the evening, everybody. All right? And don't worry, I'm not leaving. For anybody that's still painting with us and enjoying themselves, If you painted with me before, you know I stick around for at least 5 minutes or so afterward to help anybody, answer any questions, finish anything out. But the last thing I want to do is bring in like a piece of the white eggshell here over his shell to kind of give the impression that he's really busting out of this thing. So I'm going to put some pure white on my brush. I'm going to come up here to the very top where I started at the very beginning. I started the shell. I'm just going to bring sort of a little angled, broken piece of shell down like this. All right, sort of sitting over his back. I'm going to fill that in with white. All right. Maybe I'll take it a step further and I'll bring some rough edges into the rounded part of his shell here. All right, so that it doesn't look like he's nestled in here. It looks like he's actually breaking loose of the shell a little bit. All right, and there you go. You can start to see how he looks like he's a part of the shell. All right, like he's still, this shell is still his home. He's not quite sure if he wants to leave it yet. Here he is. He's just trying to get out, but he's not quite sure where life is going to take him when he gets out of the shell. So he's not quite sure if he wants to get out of the shell just yet. So the shell is sort of crackling around him like that.